Today we're interviewing Commander Robert Dodd, American Legion Post 174. He's going to tell us about his time in the United States Army. Take it away, Robert.
Thank you, Nick. As he said, my name's Robert Dodd. I'm presently the commander of the American Legion Post 174. I was drafted into the military July 26, 1967. At that time, the Vietnam War was heating up, and there was most everybody at that time were draftees. A few people enlisted, but I took my basic at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Following that, I went immediately into AIT. I was assigned to cook school. Finished that after 2 months. Come back to Palmyra for I think a 30-day leave, and had orders for Vietnam. And best I can recall, I left Palmyra the 17th of December and flew into Tan Son Nhut Air Force Base in Vietnam, and I think they took us by deuce and a half over to Long Binh Reception Center, and there are thousands and thousands of GIs being processed in and out. But my orders were for the 3rd Surgical Hospital at Dong Tam in the Mekong Delta. And my ride to my unit was with a convoy that was up there picking up supplies. And I know, talking to a staff sergeant, E5, he was assigned there, but he was on the convoy, and he was giving us a little bit of information of what to expect. About they did have a few incoming rounds, and I think I asked him that, how would you know incoming from outgoing, and he just said, you'll find out. So I don't know my exact date of arrival at my unit, but it was several days, 2 or 3 days before Christmas. And I think about 3 weeks to a month went by, no activity. Then I know I was on the top floor in the barracks, and an incoming round come in. And somebody hollered incoming, and you go down the stairs and get into the bunker. And where it landed, I cannot tell you, but it wasn't too close to us. But that was right at the beginning of what they called Tet season, which at that time most of us didn't know anything about it. But I do know we had a formation called by the commanding officer and told us that the intelligence report that we could be under attack and possible ground attack, and what to do if it happened. Well, it didn't happen, but during the Tet season, which was about 30 days, I'm guessing, we took in heavy mortars. Our hospital was inflated bubbles, and it completely knocked us out one night, deflated all the bubbles. We were out of commission. General Westmoreland visited us the next day, got off a helicopter. I happened to be standing right by the sidewalk. He walked right up and took a look, and right back in his helicopter, wasn't on the ground for probably less than 2 minutes. The closest I probably came was a mortar round. It hit our barracks, direct hit, shrapnel all through my wall locker. But thankfully, the sirens go off when everybody's in the bunker. We only had one casualty at my time there. A guy took a round in the stomach, shrapnel. But unloaded a lot of patients that come in from the field, from the helicopters, and seen a lot of KIAs that come in. I remember during the Tet season, I just went on duty about 11:30, and someone said we had 30 KIAs come in. And I said, I want to go see them. They're like 100 yards from our mess hall. And they said, no, you don't. I said, yeah, I do. I did. I walked over. There was 3 rows of 10, and their body bags were unzipped down to their waist, and the chaplain's assistant was going around checking dog tags, and I could not recognize if they were Caucasian or Afro-American, because I really didn't know that much about it at the time, and years later learned that it was napalm. But that stuck on your mind for several days, but then you get immune to it. So I spent 10 months there. In my last 2 months I was transferred up to Canton. I think it was the 90-30 vac. I was only there 2 months, and it was a safer area, and I didn't really want to go, but you had to, because that's what the military is about. You don't question it. But what happened, they sent a whole unit from Fort Devens, Massachusetts to Vietnam at the same time, which meant in 1 year they're all going to leave. So within the battalion, they just started to draw the names to what they call it an infusion, to move people around where you all wouldn't come back home at the same time. And even though I had 2 months left, I already made my friends. So I spent my last 2 months up there. Then I come home unharmed, 30-day leave, and I had orders for West Point, New York, assigned to the 115th MP Company. That was a National Guard unit activated out of Cumberland, Rhode Island. And it was good duty. I really look back at it and really enjoyed it. And some of those soldiers were getting deployed to Vietnam, and they'd ask me what it was like, and all I could tell them, just depends on where you're at. I wasn't in the infantry, I wasn't in the jungles, and I have the highest respect for those soldiers that did see that. And I only had one little incident that kind of a funny one. Everybody has some good times and some bad times. We had, they call them PA&E workers. I think it stood for Pacific American Engineers. They were civilians, and the nearest town from my base camp, Dongtam, was called Mito, and the story was that their wives were flying in that day to visit them, and they was going down that dirt road. I think it was about a 7-mile trip, and they ran over a landmine and killed them. And I knew of them, wasn't personally good friends, but I knew of them. They ate in our mess hall. But that evening, we got to take the KPs home to a village about 3 miles from the gate, and our ration truck driver was a soldier from Chicago, and he only had a couple months left, and he just said, "I'm too short, I'm not going." So the mess sergeant said, "Okay, I'll drive the truck. I need somebody to volunteer for shotgun. Anybody volunteer?" There isn't but about 3 or 4 of us cooks, and you know the military, you don't volunteer. So he looked right at me, "How about you, Dodd?" And "Okay, I'll do it." So checked out a flight mask and a weapon and a helmet, and got to the gate, and they gave us some flares to shoot up in case we ran into any activity. So going down the road, the mess sergeant's driving real slow, looking for fresh dirt in case they planned a landmine, I guess, and kept hearing this rat-a-tat, rat-a-tat. "What's that, Dodd?" He said, "What's that?" I had an idea what it was, but I didn't say nothing, so it happened again. Rat-tat-tat, rat-tat-tat. "What's that? What's that?" Well, from having a little bit of farming experience in my younger days, I said, "I think it's the tailgate rattling, Sarge." And it was, so we got them delivered and come back, no problem. But to close this off, my last 6 months in West Point, New York was very good. I really enjoyed it. We had access to everything that the cadets did, and made some good friends. And I don't think I was in Palmyra probably less than a week, and Archie Houston spotted me and signed me up to the American Legion 48 years ago, and I've been a member ever since. And it's been very rewarding. I really enjoy the American Legion. I've been the commander now for 6 years, and we've got a good post, and we've got some excellent members. And with that closing, I'll say, God bless America.
Thank you, Commander Dodd. Today is February 27th, 2017. Thank you again.